Could leaky gut be making your child's ADHD symptoms worse? I'm Dana Kay, a board-certified holistic health and nutrition practitioner, and that's what we're going to be talking about today on this YouTube video. I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I put out new training videos several times a week, so if you subscribe, you'll make sure and not miss any of them. So let's dive in today. Now, leaky gut is one of the most common underlying stresses that I see in families that I work with. So what the heck is leaky gut? I'm going to explain now. Firstly, I'll talk about the gut-brain connection. There is a very close connection between the gut and the brain. And one of the first signs of disconnect in a brain is a gut that is not functioning well. And that is because of a two-way communication between the two. So when something's not working properly with one, then the other one's not functioning well either. The brain has many areas that are involved in gut function, but one of the main areas is the frontal lobe, and it talks to the gut via nerve branches and two-way chemical messengers. Now, as you might be aware or not aware, children with ADHD, and adults of course, generally have a weak frontal lobe, which also compromises these messages. So ensuring that the gut is functioning well gives your child's frontal lobe the best opportunity to function well. So let's just look at what the frontal lobe is involved in. It's involved in things like attention and focus, executive function, planning, organizing, problem solving, which are common symptoms that most of our ADHD kids suffer with. But did you know that the gut is also responsible for making 95% of our serotonin and 50% of our dopamine, which are our happy, feel-good neurotransmitters or hormones in our body that helps regulate our emotions. They maintain our mood balance and our cognitive function. Again, these are areas that most kids with ADHD have problems with. So it makes sense that if the gut isn't functioning well, then these neurotransmitters would be affected and our children would struggle more. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the mucosal barrier. I'm going to go a little bit technical here. The mucosal barrier connects the stomach and the large intestine, and it's pretty long. It runs about 22 feet long. When it is functioning well, it absorbs about 90% of our nutrients from the food that we eat, and it transports water, nutrients, and vitamins into our cells. Now, when it isn't functioning well, it can actually increase toxicity in the body. So it has a single layer of cells called enterocytes that line the barrier. These are held together by really tight junctions whose main function is to keep particles from getting through. There are also these finger-like things called microvilli that absorbs the nutrients that keep us healthy. So basically, the mucosal barrier's job is to keep the bad guys out, so things like bacteria and viruses and parasites, and let those good guys in, those nutrients that we were talking about. And it takes all those macronutrients, so carbs and fat and protein that we eat, and digests them and converts them into micronutrients. So they can be absorbed by these villi and delivered to the bloodstream and into our cells. Nothing larger than this micronutrient size should be able to get through. So we have our defense systems to protect our body. Now, can you imagine what would happen if these defense systems are not functioning properly? It can compromise nutrient absorption and also allow these nasty toxins and bacteria to leak into our bloodstream. In other words, you can start to have something called leaky gut. So at the top, you can see we have all the nasties, stress, toxins, parasites, bacteria, system malfunctions. And if these are there on a consistent basis, it can trigger inflammation or it can damage the mucosal barrier. Then we get a breakdown to the tight junctions between the enterocytes that allow all of these nasties to leak through. The more onslaught it receives, the larger the holes and the larger the molecules can leak through into your system. Now, normally when you don't have holes in the lining of the gut, basically when we eat food, our gut breaks down food into micronutrient-sized particles, and those particles go through the lining of the gut into our cells to give us the nutrients we need so we can function optimally. But when leaky gut is present, when we eat food, even the healthiest food, before the gut has had a chance to break it down, it can go through the holes in the gut into the bloodstream. Now, the way the body's designed is that when something foreign goes in our blood, it recognizes it as a foreign object and it turns on an immune response. Now, if you think about this, if that large molecule is in fact a large food macronutrient or protein, then your immune system might start sending signals to create an immune response and start creating antibodies and start attacking it. Now, the body has a great memory. So anytime you eat that again, your immune system sees it as dangerous, it attacks it, it causes more inflammation and continues to further break down the lining of the gut. Now, all of this results in food intolerances, and these food intolerances continue to wreak havoc on the gut until they're removed. And it's like this vicious cycle. Something started leaky gut. Then the leaky gut causes food intolerances, and the food intolerances continue to cause leaky gut. So in order to heal the gut, you must remove these foods or they will continue to break down the lining of the gut and you won't be successful. Now, to add fuel to the fire, all of these invaders that are causing this inflammation then cause the microvilli, those finger-like things, to shrink and become blunted and flattened out. So you can actually get nutrient deficiency or vitamin deficiency because so much of the minerals and vital nutrients can't actually be absorbed, and even the healthiest foods aren't able to be absorbed. So that brings me to this question. How do you know if your child might have leaky gut? Leaky gut can affect the whole body. So here are some common symptoms: skin issues like acne, dermatitis, or itchy skin, thyroid issues, joint pain, weight loss or gain, fatigue, sleeping problems, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea or bloating, persistent cough, asthma or frequent colds, ADHD, autism, sensory processing issues, anxiety, or even brain fog. If your child has any of these symptoms, it's possible leaky gut could be to blame. Leaky gut can trigger anxiety or depression, skin issues, constipation, diarrhea, ADHD symptoms such as hyperactivity, emotional dysregulation, frequent cold and headaches. And if it goes on too long, you can get autoimmune diseases also. And you can also see that it's not always obvious that it's connected to leaky gut. So we have all of this information. Now, what do we do with it? There are a couple of ways to address leaky gut, and one of those is with diet. Diet is the foundation of any plan, and you will hear me say it over and over and over again. You can try to reduce inflammation in the body and the gut through removing out the foods that inflame the gut. These are gluten, dairy, and soy, avoiding refined sugars, processed meats, junk food sources, artificial flavors and colors, preservatives, and sugary beverages. But it is more important to focus on all the great things you should be eating. You want to bring in whole, nutritious, micronutrient-rich fruits and vegetables, grass-fed animal proteins such as meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, sprouted seeds and nuts, gluten-free grains, gluten-free oats, buckwheat, rice, sorghum. You want to add in fermented veggies, kimchi, sauerkraut. Drink plenty of spring water, gut healing bone broth, kombucha, smoothies. You can eat plenty of healthy fats such as avocado, coconut, and olive oils because they definitely feed the brain. And you want to choose organic, non-GMO food where possible. The other way to improve leaky gut is through functional lab testing, where we really dig deep into what might be causing the leaky gut in the first place. Now, the first test would be something like a gut stool sample that basically looks at the state of the gut. It looks for what could have caused the leaky gut in the first place, things like parasites, bacteria, worms, yeast overgrowth, but it also has some awesome intestinal health markers that look at inflammation, immune system responses, reactivity to gluten, digestive enzymes, and are you digesting fat well? And of course, it looks at leaky gut. But remember, not all gut tests are created equal. So a standard gut test that you might get from your pediatrician will not really give you the information you need to target it. The next lab we use is a food sensitivity test. As I said before, you need to remove out food sensitivities out of the diet and work on healing the gut. And we can start to see some of those symptoms reducing. Now, the test looks for inflammatory reactions in the body to certain foods. Now, the important thing to remember is food sensitivities, they're not true allergies, but they do cause inflammation in the body. And so you can actually heal from the sensitivities. Once you can heal your gut, and you can start to add those foods back in. Now, most normal food sensitivity panels test at the top protein level. We use a test that really gets down deep into the peptide level of the food. The issue comes is a lot of foods have similar protein structures, and so food sensitivity panels tend to have a lot of false positives and false negatives. Therefore, testing at the protein level doesn't give you the best results. So this test that we use tests each food down to the peptide level of the food, not just at that top protein level, which normal food sensitivity panels do. And the peptide level testing, it zooms in on the individual peptide fragments of the proteins in order to test the full array of possible reactivity of each of those foods for the most accurate results. I do suggest other tests to my clients, but these are the ones that are specifically related to leaky gut and are important to get an idea of what is the underlying stressor in the body that is contributing to leaky gut and your child's symptoms. Now, once we get the results back, we develop a bio-individual plan with lifestyle changes, detoxification techniques, dietary modification, and targeted supplementation based on the labs. You probably hear me saying it a lot that when it comes to supplementation, there is no one size fits all approach. Supplementation should be tailored to each individual in order to address specific healing opportunities, to provide support and make up for poor food quality. While some children are helped by nutritional supplements targeting certain minerals and vitamins, the others, it might show no effect. I always strongly recommend before considering supplementation that you address diet first, because it's the foundation, or specific functional lab testing to identify underlying malfunctions and stresses. So we've covered everything you need to know to go out and get started on focusing on leaky gut. Now, it's up to you to make it happen. For those of you who are ready now and want that extra support to really dive deep for your child, the best way we can help you right now is by personally supporting each and every one of you if you need it. So what I've done is I've set aside some time over the next 7 days for me and my team to personally talk to you about how we can support you to apply what we've talked about today so that we can really get back that calm into your house within 12 weeks. We do that with a call that's 100% free. I've included a link to book this call in the description below. Use the link to schedule your call with us now, because there is a very big difference between trying to figure this out on your own and working with an expert who has a track record of success. I hope this video has been helpful. Now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out any upcoming videos. As always, if you have any questions, let me know.